Welcome back, friends. You're just in time for the Johnny Brew Show.
What's going on, everybody? My name is John Brookhagen, host of the Johnny Brew Show, and let me just apologize. I'm sorry I can't condense these into nice little half-hour, pieces or 60-minute pieces. I want to tell the whole story, and I can go on and on and on and on, and I want to hear from everybody and give you every detail, not only for our own entertainment and information, but it's documenting everything that actually happened. So, I also got to make sure I thank David Orloff Photography as well as robslist.org, Republican-owned business support list.org, robslist.org, for making everything special. Also, my wonderful producer for working for hours and hours and hours on this stuff that she really doesn't care too much about. But she knows how passionate I am about bringing conservatism back, making Nevada red, and hopefully making the country turn red with Republican and conservative values. All right, so we left off, we said everything leading up to the actual meeting, including the meeting starts at 7 o'clock. It's now 8 o'clock before we're even getting our first item of business to the floor. And as advertised, one of the stars of the Envy GOP, Alita Benson, is going to lead us off with our first motion. Let's hear from her, and then I'll break it down for you.
Start with a parliamentary special order.
Point of order. I move to amend the membership resolution of the consent calendar to add the names of all individuals who attended the 2020 convention as delegates, as well as those Republicans that properly applied.
It's not a point of order. You're making a motion. The motions are out of order. Please remove the microphone.
How are motions out of order?
Motions out of order. Also, I move to amend Mr. D. Sorry, I forgot to say that.
You've said a point of order. A motion is not a point of order.
I apologize. I would like to make a motion to amend the membership resolution as we are now on the consent calendar to add the names of all individuals who attended the 2020
they're being really disrespectful to Alita. I mean, first of all, like I said in the previous episode, they were doing campaign stump speeches when there's supposed to be no speaking at all before an election. They told everybody they're not allowed to hand out flyers, yet there's Carrie Buck flyers on every seat at the thing. Then Alita Benson says that she has a point of order, but she's supposed to say she has a motion. So David Sajak, instead of saying, I'm sorry, that's not the way you're supposed to term it. I mean, he's up there calling people chicken shit and telling people, I'm something about my family, your family, talking, I'm not going to cover for your ass, and this, that, the other thing. So obviously we're not going to have the perfect exact decorum that's supposed to be in the exact perfect language that's supposed to be in a meeting. But then Alita Benson gets her point of motion or point of order mixed up, and they're trying to just shut her up and shoo her off. So she has to be perfect and run by the rules, it feels like. And again, guys, I'm just calling balls and strike. I'm not trying to take anybody's side. But I'm telling you, the way the meeting is run, it just doesn't feel warm, welcoming, or diligent to the point of taking care of business. I'm sorry for interrupting. Alita will get her grammar correct, and we'll continue.
The convention as delegates, as well as those Republicans that properly applied for membership from the time of the November 2020 meeting until the present.
They did not attend two meetings. The motion is out of order. It's against the bylaws.
You become a member once you attend the county convention.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
You don't? No, you don't.
Yes, you
Motion's
do.
been ruled out of order. Please sit down. All right, you're going to be removed.
All right.
You're not
Can you
gonna sit
pause it
there and
right
yell
there?
from your chair.
The gentleman that was just on the screen, his name was Rob Tyree. He is Rob of Rob's Rules of Order or whatever. And Alita was saying that she wanted to make sure that all the proper members got in. People that were at like the convention before the election in 2020, people who went to the meeting in November, and then this meeting, which would be 2 in a row, and then even the people who have been trying to apply in online or by certified mail or by regular mail in January, February, March, April, May, so on and so forth. Now, Sajak is saying that that's something that you can't even talk about. Rob Tyree is saying it is something that we can address. And that's pretty much where so David Sajak's trying to shoo it away. Rob Tyree interrupts, says, this is not you. What you're saying is not right. Sajak will call Tyree to the microphone to do it the proper way. Play tape.
We're going to continue order. Your motion's been overruled.
I appeal the decision of the chair.
Mr. Tyree, would you approach a microphone and do it properly? You wrote the rules, you can abide by them. Please identify yourself and your commission district.
Robert Tyree, Commissioner District G. I appeal the decision of the chair.
Mr. Tyree has appealed the decision of the chair. The overruling, Mr. Call has seconded it. It requires a 2/3 vote.
It's a majority vote, sir, according to Robert's rules.
Our rules require a 2/3 vote. Mr. Tyree.
Our rules do not require a 2/3. Please cite it if it does.
You cited that it doesn't.
They're in Robert's rules. It's basic rules of order. I don't have to prove it.
Okay, we're going to.
You have to do it.
Is that a 47? All right, so right here they're talking about, I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared. They were talking about, Rob is trying to appeal saying that David Sajak made the wrong decision. And now we're going to start getting into the weeds of what's actually going on. We go back to the YouTube video if you'd like. What we'll see is now Mr. Tyree is objecting to appealing David Sajak's decision. So it gets really confusing. Now Tyree is saying his motion is to hear Alita Benson's motion. All right, play tape.
You said a point of order. A motion is not a point of order. Please sit down.
I apologize. I would like to make a motion to amend the membership resolution as we are now on the consent calendar, to add the names of all individuals who attended the 2020 county convention as delegates, as well as those Republicans that properly applied for membership from the time of the November 2020 meeting until the present.
They did not attend 2 meetings. Your motion is out of order. It's against the bylaws.
You become a member once you attend the county convention.
No, you don't.
Your presentation.
You don't. No, you don't. Motion's been ruled out of order. Please sit down. All right, you're going to be removed again. You're not going to sit there and yell from your chair. We're going to continue order. Your motion's been overruled. Mr. Tyree, would you approach a microphone and do it properly? You wrote the rules. You can abide by them. Please identify yourself and your commission district.
Robert Tyree, Commissioner District G. I appeal the decision of the chair.
Mr. Tyree has appealed the decision of the chair. The overruling, Mr. Call has seconded it. It requires a 2/3 vote.
It does not. It's a majority vote, sir, according to Robert's rules.
Our rules require a 2/3 vote if it, Mr.
They do
Tyree.
not. Our rules do not require a 2/3. Please cite it if it does.
You cited that it doesn't.
They're in Robert's rules. It's basic rules of order. I don't have to prove it.
Hey,
You're
not going to talk over me again, Mr. Tyree. We're going to take the vote. We have a motion on the floor. Let's take the vote. All in favor of Mr. Tyree's motion, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, please raise your hand. We'll have to call for a division of the House. It's too close. On the 50-50, it's too close by going with Mr. Tyree's rule. There's about 6 or 8 people that crash the doors without wristbands. Would the tellers please be very careful when counting to make sure that everyone stands and shows their wristband. So everyone in favor of Mr. Tyree's motion, please stand.
Point of information, if I can. Can you read over here?
Can you restate the motion? What are we voting for? I'm not sure.
Mr. Tyree, go ahead, or I'm sorry, it's Ms. Benson's motion.
A yes vote would allow for Ms. Benson's motion to go forward and allow in the individuals that attended the 2020 convention, were on the consent calendar for the November and May meetings to participate as members.
So in other words, if I may clarify with the chair, this motion that we're voting for is to allow a motion to be heard, not necessarily voting for the motion itself.
Yes, but the issue is it's against the bylaws, so we're trying to vote a motion and it's against the bylaws, and it's out of order.
It would allow.
I don't think you're allowed to have a vote on a motion that's out of order. I'm sorry.
It would allow those members to be added to the consent calendar.
There was no May meeting. The May meeting was canceled. So how are you giving people credit for a May meeting that was canceled?
That's why you canceled it.
It does not. And most of those applications were sent in, and no one has a way to track those, and most of them were sent in way before 30 days.
All right, guys. So we're getting in the weeds. Alita Benson makes a motion. She gets denied. They appeal a motion. Now they're trying to see if the appeal to hear the original motion can go through. They take a vote. It's pretty obvious that they all voted to agree with Mr. Tyree. And then what's going to happen is they're going to say that the vote to hear a motion that's not allowed to be heard is a moot point because it's not allowed by the bylaws. And then you're going to hear them say, I don't know if they're going to talk about how the people that attended the convention are supposed to get in, the people who went to the November meeting are supposed to get in, and the people who have been trying to get in for the past 7 months should get in. So what they're going to say is that the first motion is legit, that we should make sure that the conventioneers and the November attendees get in, but the second motion is not legit because they didn't attend a second meeting. They didn't attend a first and second meeting. And then, of course, the argument against that is that we haven't had a meeting since November and people have been trying to join the CCRP for the past 7 months. There's got to be some recourse. And it looks like they weren't having meetings in order to avoid Rudy Kleiskamp from getting in and then successively Jesse Lawskamp from getting in. But I'll let you guys listen for yourself and you tell me what you think. Please let us know in the comments what you're seeing. Maybe I'm not seeing the same thing you are, and I just trying to be an unbiased arbiter of truth. Play tape.
For the meeting.
If they were before 30 days, they should get allowed. No, we didn't.
You really did. Yeah. What a dictator. He's just missing the German accent and the monocle.
I'm sorry, but I'd advise the council, this motion is out of order, it violates the bylaws, and it is not allowed to be voted on by the body. That's the ruling, we're moving on.
All right, so you heard his secretary told him that we're voting on a motion to hear a motion that's not allowed.
I have the bylaws.
Here's Alita Benson.
Delegates attending the biennial Clark County Republican Convention become new members at the close of convention. This is a motion to add the people who are already members according to our bylaw 3.1.2.1.
These people are already on the membership roll. It went to the convention and went to the November meeting. They're already on the membership roll.
No, they're not, Mr. Chairman. I know of a number of people that attended the convention. I've got the convention rule right here that weren't allowed in.
Thank you. My name is Edgar Dawson. I'm the acting secretary. The motion is ruled out of order because the second part, trying to allow people who did not attend 2 meetings. We had a November meeting. If they did not attend the November meeting, then this would be this first meeting that they had. There was a meeting in May that was scheduled that was canceled, including canceled by court order. That does not count as a meeting since no meeting took place. The people who are on the consent calendar for their second meeting attended the November meeting, and this would be their second meeting. The people who attended the precinct meeting, like myself and the county convention, have already been made members. The only way they can lose their membership is if they miss the next two meetings, which would be November and this meeting. If they are in this meeting and missed the November meeting but attended the precinct meeting and the county convention, they are still members. No member has been removed from the rolls who attended the precinct meeting and the county convention because two meetings has not happened. So the motion that has been made is against the bylaws. If you voted to pass it and overrule the chair, which is not allowed, it would still violate our bylaws.
Not holding meetings is also against the bylaws, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah.
Sorry, but the governor shut down the state. And there was only 50 people allowed. Oh, yeah, I know. We're supposed to hold meetings even though the governor said we couldn't.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Tyree, and then we're going to move on.
The rules actually provide for virtual meetings.
No, they don't.
Yes,
Mr.
they
Tyree,
do.
not for voting meetings.
They do, actually. I wrote those rules, as you so eloquently pointed out earlier.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Tyree.
All right, so what they're saying,
Again, there's a motion on the floor and there's a second on the motion. We will debate the motion. All in favor of the motion? It's the consent calendar.
What exactly are we voting on?
Do you want to restate your thing?
To restate the motion, Mr. Chairman, a move to adopt the consent calendar and ask for the removal of 6B to add additional names to it.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hands, please. All in favor? Or stand up, please. It's easier. I'm sorry.
all right, you guys can see what's going
All
on.
in favor of the consent calendar, please stand up.
You want to pause it for 1 second? All right, guys. So now this is the third motion. Now the board of the CCRP has presented another motion, the third motion. So you had Alita Benson, then you had Tyree. Now you have Sajak's motion to proceed with the calendar the way it is and remove the talk about adding any new members whatsoever. So a vote for yes would say, let's put this to bed and move on. A vote for no would be no, we need to address the issue of new members. They did a voice vote. The yeas got maybe 1/3. The no's got 2/3. But he says, all right, no, let's go to a hand count. Everybody stand up. And that's what's going to happen now. And you tell me, you see the yeas backing Sajak standing up. And then let's see how many people stand up when they vote to consider new members.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All opposed to the motion, please stand.
And you could see
The
about,
motion is carried.
and then he rules in favor of himself.
Division. I call division of the vote.
People are shocked.
Tellers, will you please take your place? Sergeant at Arms, we're going to go row by row. We're going to check the people, make sure they have. Okay, and then we're going to check the names against the list too to make sure. Okay, right down here. Wayne Allen Root. Where's Wayne Allen Root? Where's the birthday boy while we're here?
I still have a point of information.
There's a motion on the floor.
This is just a question for the body.
It's not appropriate. A question for the body's not appropriate at this time.
I'm asking who's being added to the rolls. We went from 287 to 515, and who are the honorary members that haven't had to have attendance requirements?
All right. So, first of all, they're going to a hand vote, and they're going to count row by row. Now, we've already started over an hour late, if you consider waiting for McKeon and Sam Brown to speak. Then we finally get started. We have a motion. We have a motion to hear the motion. Then we have a motion to ignore all the motions, and we're going to a hand count on that third motion. While we're going to a hand count on the third motion, David Sajak now wants to bring up another cheerleader in Wayne Allen Root. We'll see how Wayne Allen Root responds to this. But while Sajak is trying to glad hand and bring up celebrities to, do whatever it is he wants them to do, Alita Benson is trying to ask a question related to exactly what's going on at the meeting right now. And Sajak says, we don't have time for questions. It's not an appropriate time for questions. I don't want to hear your questions. But if we could bring up the birthday boy, Wayne Allen Root, we could spend another 15 minutes telling him how cool he is, right? Can you go to the Facebook video at, on the Johnny Brew Show? We broadcast the entire thing live. So I'm going to go to that video at the 1:02 mark, an hour and 2 minutes into that video. And give me 30 seconds of watching Wayne Allen Root whisper into Sajak's ear, I don't want to have anything to do with this SHIT show you got going on. I'm leaving. Play tape.
Mr. Root, where's the birthday boy?
We're waiting on Wayne Allen Root. It is his birthday today, and there he is. No waving to the crowd, no getting involved in nothing. Hey, Dave, you got an SHIT show going on here, and I'm out. And he leaves. No wave, not a single thing. And Wayne Allen Root is always trying to drum up the crowd and wave and smile and build his brand, and he doesn't want nothing to do with nothing. Unbelievable. Can you go on this same Facebook video to 104.55? We got some other good stuff right here for you guys. Play tape. I don't know what's going on, guys. I think they're just checking for wristbands right now still to make sure nobody votes that's not supposed to vote. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm new to this, but I think they're voting on making this membership thing a separate motion to discuss. Because they want everybody who not only came to the November meeting and came here today to be eligible, but they also want people who tried to go to the May meeting or went to something else. But I don't fully understand, so I'm just doing the best I can. That's Carrie sitting next to her rival, Eddie Hamilton, and Carrie's husband, the pilot. All right, last thing I remember was Alita Benson bringing up the motion in order to invite the people up. Mr. Tyree explained that when she was dismissed, that the chairman was wrong in dismissing her. And so now we had a couple of votes, which were pretty close. So now we're going through to make sure everybody who's voting was allowed to vote. And this is simply a motion to consider this on the side. So we haven't gotten to anything that we were supposed to do as of yet. And I've since gotten clearer on what was going on.
Mind if I squeeze through 1 second?
Let's ask Rob Tyree what's going on. Go ahead, you could play tape.
Is there any chance you could explain what's going on?
So what it seems like to me is that they want to
remove the membership resolution from the consent calendar because they want to add
And separate.
for separate consideration because they want to add some people.
Right.
I don't know who they want to add.
Who wants to add? Alita or the chairman?
The chairman and the secretary
Right.
want to add people.
So like honorary people or something.
I don't know. I've tried to ask several
Right.
times.
Because there was like 300 something people that are definitely supposed to be here, and they have like an auxiliary list with an additional 150 people or so.
They announced 511, I think it was. So.
Right. And then like Jesse Law wanted to bring a whole bunch of people that tried to attend the May meeting, but that's not on the list he's referring to. So he's got a list that he wants to admit in, but then there's another list that say the NVGOP, just for lack of a, wants to bring it, and that's not considered.
I can tell you absolutely that the NVGOP didn't request any.
Right. I'm just saying they're adjacent to them. That's all. Oh, McDonald's over there. Thank you, Sarah.
All right, so basically, the CCRP is trying to bring in 100 to 200 people of their own as honorary members. So it's so weird how like they're trying to bring in members because they want more votes, and then like all these other people are trying to come in and become new members, and they won't even be considered. But the people that the CCRP want to be are going to get to be considered according to this motion. And it just feels like everything is so shady. All right, if we go back to the YouTube 3810, and we'll get to hear what was the decision. You're going to love this. 3810.
Everybody needs to be seated. We're not going to be wandering and running around the house. If you're not seated, you're going to be asked to leave.
I'm seated. What do you
Mr. Root, where's the birthday boy? There is absolutely no way to complete this meeting. We stand in recess.
Oh,
no. We stand in recess. Notice also, and we're going to get into this in just a minute. Notice the meeting's not adjourned. We're in recess. Like right now, it's Friday night. This was 3 days ago. We're still in recess. You know, the meeting is still technically going on, which is pretty crazy if you ask me, right? I mean, obviously everybody's mad. We've had nothing done. Nothing whatsoever. So, as we go into recess, at least we had a promise from Carrie Ann Buck now to talk to us on the way out. So, at least I'll finally get a chance to talk to her about what's right, about Jesse Law, about this ethics thing, about the new members, about everything, because I've been waiting to see if Carrie Ann Buck can get on the Unity train. So let's go outside and let's catch up with Carrie Ann Buck and talk to a bunch of other people as well. Play tape. You can leave me on. All right. Oh, good. So Carrie Ann Buck's going to meet me. Here she comes. There's my cameraman. We're ready to talk to you, Carrie Ann. Oh, Carrie Ann left without talking to us. But Jesse Law will talk to us.
Richard McLean promised they will not be going back into session, even though they called it a recess.
Yeah, he makes a lot of promises. I'd trust but verify.
Okay, so if this is the case, this would be good news for you, wouldn't it? Because having no election, that means we have some time to get through any accusations and then hopefully straighten them out. And
you mean dignify lies on me, slander on me, that they won't even give me any information about? Yeah, let's dignify the accusations that aren't based on fact, but rather hurt feelings.
So they still haven't told you exactly what they're...
Look, I have my suspicions about it, but what do you do when somebody who's just a political enemy wants to slander, and then the whole of the organization gets all worked up in an effort to try to take him off the ballot, and then rig it so that he can't even know what's being said, defend himself at all? That's what's happened. This isn't going to be a reconvening or something in court. It's not about the merits of the accusation. The point is that was bogus. These guys were here disenfranchising hundreds of people, disenfranchising myself as well. It was a complete sham, and I'm glad that the room saw it that way.
And we have everything, recorded on tape. There were a lot of people watching our live feed, a lot of angry people. I'm guessing at least half of them were supporters of yours. What do you think we need to do? I mean, is the CCRP too far gone where we need to go a different way? Are you hoping that you could straighten out these issues and then fix everything? I mean, what's your hope?
It's just what I was saying earlier. There is going to be a direction that we go, all right, that unifies Republicans to defeat the Democrats. That's the whole purpose here.
Right.
It's not about closing the meetings. It's not about making more bylaws so fewer people can join.
Right.
This is about defeating the Democrats. So that's what I'm committed to for 2022.
Were you encouraged? There were a ton of people here. I mean, when we were checking in, there must have been well over 500, maybe even 700 or 800 people, not even counting what's in the... I mean, there's a new exuberance and enthusiasm in the Republican Party. What are we going to do with it?
We're going to defeat the Democrats. I mean, it's really easy. Here's the problem. They don't want to change it. Me. They don't want all of the people who came tonight. You. They don't want us all coming together to go after the Democrats. The folks that are running this organization, by the way, are parts of the teachers union and things like that. I mean, and they're paying their own board members, apparently, according to the Secretary of State. This is so unusual to stack a membership, allow an honorary members who've never even attended a meeting, okay, and then eliminate an opposing candidate. Last I checked, they do that in Iran. I mean, this is the most unusual thing. You better believe that they need to get their act straight, because whatever was going on today is not going to stand up for it. And frankly, I'm considering all legal avenues to make sure that whatever they do to reconvene, I'm part of.
Awesome, Jesse. Well, thank you so much for talking to us. Good luck in everything you do.
I mean, maybe it's optics. Again, I said I'm new. I don't know all the ins and outs. But the CCRP looks malevolent, and Jesse Law looks like he's in the right. I mean, we just got some breaking news. I'm going to be releasing an email that just came out from the CCRP, which outlines the ethics complaints against Jesse Law and some of the stuff about that. And I have some great insight to share with you about that. But let's get through the rest of the night. Next, we have Dulce Crawford, and she's just going to tell us about her experience. And then that'll be followed up with the person you probably want to hear from most, Alita Benson. Play tape.
All right.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Dulce Crawford. Now, tell me, you were telling me something about you getting denied entry, and why?
Well, I managed to sneak in. But because I wasn't allowed in through the regular protocols that they set up. But even though I showed them that I had my acceptance as a new member application.
And that's in February.
February 21st of this year, which was in time to make the May meeting.
That was canceled.
That they canceled. And it was my intent to be at the May meeting and tonight's meeting, and then I would be approved and have my voting privileges.
As far as I know, today is a meeting. And
Yes.
you were here.
And I was here.
And so if you go to the second meeting, I believe now, because of the way everything went down, you should have voting privileges for the election. I believe. I'm not sure.
Well, not with the rules that they've been playing by. They weren't playing by any of the regular rules because they didn't give me a band and they didn't put me on the list until I demanded and I went up to the very front. And because when I went to the tables, they said, sorry, you have to send in a whole new member application. And I said, why would I do that when I did it in February? I've been getting the emails from the Central Committee for the GOP for 4 months.
Hey guys, I'm here with Alita Benson, who is, I'm sorry, you're not the data director, you're the political director with the NVGOP. I saw you were really involved. You were one of the few people that got to speak before we got put on recess. First of all, what was it like walking in and everything that was going on at the beginning of the meeting before we got called to order?
It was a different check-in process than normal. They had us sit in our commission districts, which is unusual. Normally you just get to sit wherever you want. We had wristbands instead of badges. There's a lot of people that were trying to get in. The open meeting laws of the Clark County Republican Party say any member of the public can attend. They just aren't necessarily entitled to speak. There's multiple trustees that did not seem to know that bylaw and were trying to eject people who were there to observe.
All right, and then I heard
I mean, I heard somebody put their hands on you. Now, was that in the
did.
beginning of the meeting?
So-
when the melee was going on with people trying to sneak in?
That wasn't. So I was actually up at the microphone trying to make a motion to allow members who had already been made members at the precinct meeting and at the county meeting, at the county convention, that were excluded from the list. I was trying to make a motion to have them added because they were left off incorrectly. And that motion was in debate. There was another motion to move that specific item to a different point in the agenda, all very technical stuff, right? And I'm standing there at the mic waiting to finish my motion, and the sergeant at arms, who I have on video saying this actually, were saying during the vote that was called the division of the House, they were going to, anybody who didn't have a wristband could come up and they would give them a wristband and have a different check-in process than everyone else who had to check in, show our ID, get our wristband. So any changes like that need to be announced to the body, and they would not let me ask a point of clarification, which is allowed at any point in our meetings under Robert's Rules of Order. Because a point of clarification is just to add information or get additional information, right? To clarify. And so they would not let me ask a point of clarification. And when I tried to get to the mic to speak, as I am allowed to do as a member, Jeff Gutting, the sergeant at arms, forcibly moved me away from the mic and put his hands on me.
Well, I mean, I saw you speak, and everything was fine. Is this the gentleman?
That is the gentleman.
Can you see this, Rob?
No, with the light. Yeah, there you go.
All right. So you were speaking, and then this gentleman came over and said you were not supposed to be speaking anymore.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, you don't seem like the type to start fighting. So, exactly what happened? He touched you.
Yes. So he tried to shove me away from the mic and put his hands
Like
on my
this?
shoulders. He put both hands on one shoulder.
Like this?
Yes.
Like trying to shove you?
And that's not allowed. We're a
No,
civil
of course
organization.
not.
There's-
And you're a young lady. I mean, even if you were a young man, people shouldn't be touching you. But you're a polite young lady.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we all have the same rules to follow, and that's the bylaws and Robert's Rules of Order. And when you know those, it makes for an easy meeting, right? But when people don't know them and they try and force their way through, that's when we have the situation that we have, and it's just not okay.
Well, ever since I talked to you last week, I've been getting inundated with messages about how sharp you are. I mean, you don't even know how many people in Nevada, conservatives in Nevada, either already were impressed or are now impressed. I mean, you're on the radar. You seem to have a real grasp of some of the technicalities and stuff. So can you just clear up, as best you can, a summary of what happened, how we ended? Nothing got done. It seems like all we really did was say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right? Yeah. No, we had some guest speakers.
Am I wrong?
Including somebody with a criminal background, which I found kind of
But am I
inappropriate.
wrong that I don't know the rules that well, but I thought that nobody was allowed to do speeches or make speeches when there's a day of an election. They're just supposed to go right to the election so there can be no...
It has to be on the agenda, and so these weren't,
Well, Sam Brown was on the agenda.
Sam Brown was on the agenda, right?
And then Mr. McKeon, I believe
He was
it is.
not on the agenda. There was only opening remarks, which were given by
Because it
Richard
seems
McLean.
they're very specific about the rules. I mean, everything seems to be very about the rules.
Well, you'd think that until they don't follow the rules. So, like, one of the rules is that you become a member under Clark County Republican Party Bylaw 3.1.2.1, right? This is super exciting stuff. But that means you become a member when you attend your precinct meeting, you go to the county convention, and that's when you're seated as a member of the CCRCC. So the CCRCC is dissolved and reformed every 2 years. And so what happened with our board here is they illegally tried to exclude people who were who are members. One of them is Jesse Law. One of them is Sherilyn Arrington. Like, these are all people.
And do you have any idea? I know you have worked with Jesse Law in the past. Do you have any idea what they're even referring to when they're saying he's done something ethically questionable?
Jesse Law worked in the White House for President Trump and got vetted by the FBI and the NSA. So if he did anything illegal, I'm sure they would have found out before giving him a top secret security clearance. I'm not them. I don't know. But they seem to find nothing wrong.
Awesome. Alita, thanks so much for always
John.
coming. All right, again, guys. Alita's a rock star. Check out the interview. She sat down with us for over an hour. We talked all about her growing up, her beginning of her career, and now being a real leader here in the Nevada GOP. So thank you, Alita, for standing up for at more than half of the room when you spoke at the CCRP meeting. Thank you for looking at election integrity here in Nevada. Thank you for being a friend of the Johnny Brew Show. And please, keep going. All right, and now we get to hear from one of our friends. The Juggalo Patriot was on the scene, and, he released his 10-minute parody Rain Allen Woot coverage. I'll give a shout out to Ian Bain with the No Mask Nevada Pack. He released a 30-minute thing, but of course only on the Johnny Bruce Show. For better or worse, you're going to get 3 hours worth of coverage. All right? Let's hear what the Juggalo Patriot has to say to any of you Daves out there. Play tape. I'm here with Chris Dyer, also known as the Juggalo Patriot. He's been kind of walking me through these things because he's been around the block a few times. Is this a typical CCRP meeting?
No, it's not typical. This is a new twist on what we do. We love to take away people's voting rights. We did this in 2008. We turned off the lights, closed the doors as people were waving money. Keep the room open.
Right.
Now we don't have that option because it's a school. Keep the room open. Nah, they got to go home. But yeah, there's always something new to take away people's right to vote.
All right, because we were in there for about 2 hours,
Yeah.
and we basically got through the pledge.
We are supposed to start the meeting on time at 7 o'clock without speeches or anything like that. I know that Sam Brown is awesome.
That's another question
But
I
we
had.
let him chop it up, and we let a lot of other stuff happen that burned up our
And
time.
Mr.
And no
McKeon.
one would ever step up and say, Sam Brown, point of order, you can't speak.
Of course,
So
because
that
he's
was
a
a
hero.
tactic, right.
And, but my question is, isn't it not allowed to have speeches before an election? I mean, I don't know a lot about the
We
rules.
are supposed to go right to the elections, as far as I know. It's always been that way. Elections is the first order of business.
Well, I did hear Mr. McKeon come up, introduce himself, tell a little story, and then he said, he endorses Carrie Ann Buck.
Yeah, they let
And
former
then
Chairman
Sam-
Dave McKeon speak for some reason. I don't know why. He's not a good dude.
So that's the only thing we really got done was hear from Mr. McKeon and hear from Sam Brown. And Sam Brown went on to endorse Byron
Let me tell
Brooks.
your audience something real quick about Dave McKeon. He's so bad at this that if you look at his social media posts, his social media accounts, the domains that are listed on there are still clickable. I own them. And they all redirect to the court cases where he admitted to beating his wife and kids. So click on anything on his social media. You find out everything you need to know about David McKeon. I don't have to say anything else about the guy. The court documents speak for themselves.
And then last question, what do you anticipate in the next week will happen? Anything? Or do you think this is just going to be on mute?
We'll have another meeting in 2 months. It'll be a ramp up for it, and then it'll be, well, I don't know. Dave McKeon's going off to, Dave Sajdak's going off to be a peanut farmer in Georgia. So we're going to have an election because we're going to have an empty spot. We may have to form a new organization. This fucking thing's broken.
All right, guys, I'm here with Brittany Sheehan. Brittany was one of about a dozen people.
Take the mask off.
Zorro, who is this?
Yeah,
is that
you
David
know who
Sajdak?
that is. Oh, wow. I don't know that guy.
I'm here with Brittany Sheehan. Brittany was one of about a dozen people. Was it 12, 14, 8 people? Anyway, it was
I don't know. The pool of plaintiffs changed at some point of the lawsuit, so I don't have the exact number.
Got you. So
but
there was
we were representative of other groups because we had people in the lawsuit such as Raul Sabito, and his group is 100 and plus Filipino Americans that weren't able to get in except for Elizabeth Bennett, who curiously has a very Caucasian sounding name. So that was the case that we pled to the court, and today...
Yeah, so you won your court case while everybody else was not so successful. We could get into the details of all that another time, but the bottom line is you were told by a judge that you have every right to be here. I have some video that we're going to be showing, maybe as I'm talking to you right now, of them trying to get rid of you. You had about 3 or 4 cops surrounding you.
They tried to arrest me for trespassing, and they came up and they read me the warning. Curiously, the statute that they cited is for personal property. It doesn't really talk about public property in that statute. They wanted to say that the CCRP privately rented this. That's not in accordance with how they normally would do things. These should be considered public meetings because also under Nevada state law, if you are an entity that is created by Nevada statute, you are considered a public body. So they did a few things in violation of state law, and then they tried to have me arrested, and luckily someone was able to get my attorney on the phone for me as I was sitting there, and that kind of helped negotiate and smooth things over as far as what the court dictated during that ruling.
Because it seemed like the cops were in a really tough position because the people who were
hosting the event. We're trying to get the cops to remove you. You're showing court papers, and then how did it resolve? I mean, your lawyer spoke with the cops and they let it go?
They finally came up to me and said that I could be there so long as I didn't vote. So I didn't participate in the one
There
vote.
was no vote.
Well, actually, we did vote one time on Robert Tyree. He
Had a motion to hear a motion.
yeah, he disagreed with the chair's ruling. We voted once, and then what happened after that is they forgot that we were counting votes, apparently, because they were going to go to a hand vote, even though that seems ridiculous because it was a very loud separation. It was obvious that they were voting against the consent calendar. And then I guess they realized they didn't have the votes and decided to, recess the meeting.
And well, for those of people who might not know Brittany Sheehan, she does a lot of writing. You've written some laws, you've written some resolutions. You're very involved and very behind the scenes, but you're very plugged in and intelligent. What do you foresee your relationship with the CCRP in the future? I mean, are you going to continue to try to be a part of this and to have your voice heard?
Well, for the record, I was in attendance of the convention last June, so I've been trying to become a member for over a year now, including taking it to a court. It should not be this hard. It should not be this stacked of a deck. It depends on what they do. If this is Carrie Buck's regime, and I think they're running it like authoritarians. They don't allow dissent. That's in their new rules. If you disagree with them on an issue, then a board will remove you. That's in violation of state law as well. I could cite that to you. So this is a body that is partially governed in state law. They don't follow their bylaws. They don't really give any credence to anything except what they want to do. My mother's a Cuban immigrant. I'm a first-generation American. I didn't come here to have our freedoms stepped all over because someone wants their grips on power. So if that's how they're going to run this, like this is the German Workers' Party, then I won't be a part of a party like that, certainly.
That's what I'm afraid of, because, I mean, you bring a lot to the table. I mean, we were speaking with, say, Jessica Hansen and Alita Benson, and these are young women who have a lot to bring to the table, and I feel like you are just right up there with them as far as being a strong, independent woman that has a lot, to offer the conservative movement. If Carrie Ann Buck was to win, would you...
If Carrie Ann Buck was to win, I would call for her resignation because she won by breaking state law, and I think that's inappropriate for a sitting state senator because they're not allowing Jesse Law, who is a current member, and the only one that can remove him from membership according to NRS is the body. If they ran an election like that, it would be an illegal election, and I think that a sitting senator benefiting from that, not opposing it, someone who claims to back the blue and has very close relationships should resign their seat. I think that would be fair. You don't break state law to benefit you politically.
And what I want to hear is we're not going to get rid of you that easy.
There's other aspects of advocacy. Clearly, I, like you mentioned, I have brought legislation. For the record, me and Carrie Buck both had the same amount of bills heard this year in the legislature. So, except the taxpayers didn't have to pay me to do my work. I will continue advocating. There's plenty of organizations. There's plenty of campaigns I'll be affiliated with. I would not choose to be affiliated with this party if it was in hands like that.
Thank you so much.
You strong-armed me, but
yes.
bye, guys.
Get over here.
All right, yeah. So first of all, I do want to thank Brittany Sheehan. I know she's a bright bulb, but she's a little bit camera shy, and she does a lot for us. And she agreed to talk to us to tell her story, and it is somewhat a personal story. I mean, she's been going through a lot. Could you imagine going to court against the CCRP and having to argue with these, political bigwigs? And she stands her ground, and, I applaud her for being so tough. All right. I also wanted to thank JP for joining us and giving us his unique take. He's seen it all before, and he knows where a lot of the bodies are buried, and he just let us know about a couple of them. All right. Now, I just have a few interviews left before we come back to studio and I start telling you guys exactly what's going on. I read the email that was just sent out by the CCRP, and being that I do like Carrie Ann Buck, I'm going to be giving her some heartfelt advice. But first, let's hear from David Orloff Natalie Roach, and Tawana Crab. Play tape. This is a big shout out. This is the #1 photog, David Orloff. I just want to say, what do you, I mean, you know,
This
we've
has
been
got to
seeing
be,
each other.
if I didn't see this live, I wouldn't have believed how bad it was. It's one thing that I shot the whole thing, got everything on video, and I'm still going to edit it, and I'm going to go, he really did say that, didn't he? You know.
Yes.
But the thing is that when I confronted Carrie. I confronted her about her tweet that she put out in February, which was wear a mask, get the vax, get a job.
Just like everybody else.
Right, just like everybody else in the country. So she first said to me, we hugged and said, oh, I still get your emails. I go, great. I go, Carrie, I got to call you on this. I go, what would you think? She goes, well, I says, I'm not endorsing it. I go, Carrie, look what you wrote. I go, you wrote it as if you endorsed.
And
I
so
go,
what did she say?
So then she said to me, she goes, well, I says, Carrie, I says, you know, we had some chit chat. She goes, well, I won. I go, oh, you won. I says, oh, so you have no integrity then. I said, you have no integrity then.
You said that to her face.
Oh, yeah. And by the way,
David Orloff.
Oh, I have
flexing.
Well, what's really great about being older, I'm going to be 65. I'm in the cranky old man status, so don't piss off an old guy. I think the joke is life in prison is not as much of a deterrent when you're older.
Hey guys, I made a new friend tonight. Her name is Natalie Roach, and she's running for, what was it?
Community Relations Director.
Community Relations Director of the CCRP.
Yes.
Very good. And we never got to the election.
No, we didn't.
And you've been involved in the CCRP longer than I have. Can you tell me, is this typical, or is this what you expected from tonight?
No, I wasn't expecting this tonight. It's disappointing. I think that there were some things that they wanted to happen.
Such as?
Wanted to make sure they had the right votes, but I don't want to accuse.
Right.
But that's what it appeared, and they didn't seem to have the votes, and so they waited it out and canceled the meeting.
Hey guys, I spoke with Tawana Crab before the meeting began, and then the meeting happened, and here we are afterwards. How do you feel about what you saw tonight?
Well, there's rules, Robert rules, and there's bylaws. And the bylaws that Dave Sajak was following were the bylaws that the state had written way back. So
it sounded like he was arguing with Rob Tyree, who wrote them.
Yeah.
Is that why we ended up adjourning the meeting?
Yes.
Because we couldn't come to a resolution?
I'm sorry. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. But the thing is, he was following what they had written. That's what's so strange.
Get home safety, okay? Thank you so much. No, it's okay. It's okay. I guess she wasn't allowed to talk to me. All right, guys. So my name is John Brookhagen from the Johnny Brew Show. What a freaking main event we had. It was cold halfway through the fight. We got nothing done whatsoever. The one positive I saw from tonight is we have got hundreds and hundreds of red-blooded Republicans who want to get involved. So one way or another, we need to unify so that way, come 2022, if we're getting twice as many people to a CCRP meeting, let's hope we get twice as many people to the ballot box and turn Nevada red. Thanks so much for watching the live feed. Thanks so much for watching this coverage. I want to thank everybody involved, especially robslist.org for coming on location with me. My name is John Brookhagen. You're watching the Johnny Brew Show, and we'll get you next time. Hey, to all four of you that gave me that little applause after my outro. Yeah, baby. I love you too. That made me so happy. You see, I went home, I showed my wife, and she smiled because she knew that I thought that was cute. All right? I'm not trying to get famous or nothing, but that doesn't mean that I can't tell you the truth when you make me feel good. So, all right. Now, also, did you see when Tawana Crab... Guys, I'm telling you, all of you, come on the show. All right? We will humanize you. We will let people get to know you. So that way, you won't be vilified simply by the smear campaigns. But, like I'm sitting there, I'm talking to TK Crab, and she's being super sweet, and she's with the guys on the CCRP, and I'm trying to get people to present their side of the story, and I'm not able to. I've invited Carrie Ann Buck. I've invited Byron Brooks. I've invited David Sajak. I've invited Richard McLean. All right, Richard McLean came on. We had a great conversation. And out of the entire board, Richard McLean is my favorite. Now, that might be because he is the best of the bunch, or it might be because he spent 2 hours with me explaining his vision, explaining why he took money from the CCRP in order to do data collection when it was offered for free in another avenue. He explained why the whole T-shirt logo thing was not that big a deal. And some of you may agree and some of you may not agree with him, but he came on. He let me ask him the tough questions. We talked about it, and I dug deep, and he gave a legitimate answer. And like I said, some of you might not agree with it, but at least he had the gumption to come on, face the music, and he walked out of here unscathed. He had a great time, and we ended up becoming good friends. All right? I don't know why. I feel like some of you guys feel like I'm trying to do a gotcha interview, and I'm trying to surprise you and try to catch you off guard. And, even when I bring you on to ask you the tough questions, whether you were Matt Anthony or Richard McLean or Tony Lane, anybody who comes on, I'm going to ask you the tough questions, but I'm not going to hit you out of left field with some stupid stuff. If I have something, for example, Richard McLean, I let him know what I was going to ask about. I might not tell him exactly what quotes I have or exactly how I'm going to bring it up, but I told him I'm going to ask you about some of the stuff that your detractors have asked of you and give you a chance to get it out in the open. And to me, it's pretty much a moot point. But when people refuse to talk to me about anything, it dehumanizes you, and it makes me more apt to buy into the smear campaigns. That's why when you guys are smearing Jesse Law, I talk to him and I believe him. When you guys are smearing Richard McLean, I talk to him, I believe him. We're not that bad. If all this talk about Proud Boy adjacent and racist, this is baloney, guys. All you're doing is giving Democrats ammo that's barely, if even close to being true. And all they have to do is saying your Republican colleagues are asserting this. Your Republican colleagues are asserting that you're part of the Proud Boys, who are an extremist organization. None of that is necessarily true, but all they have to do is say, as reported by your Republican colleagues. This is ridiculous. From douches on a bathroom floor to anti-Semitic material on a telegraph to, Byron Brooks going to a Proud Boy event to Matt Anthony being Proud Boy adjacent to, all this stuff. Calling people racist and anti-Semitic. All we're doing is hurting ourselves. Why? Again, I told you in the part 1 of the episode, we should be celebrating the enthusiasm. We had up to 1,000 people show up to Spring Valley High School on a Tuesday night. We're ready to turn Nevada red. Why do we have to continue with it the way it's going? And I've got the most recent correspondence, which just came out about a half an hour ago from the Clark County Clark County Republican Party, or the Clark County Republican Central Committee. Is it CCRCC or is it CCRPCC? I think it's CCRCC. Anyway, are we getting close? All right. In order for us to bring you this breaking news, our producer is working overtime. After she worked 10 hours at her job, she's now going on hour 6 here, trying to help you guys out, bring you this information. Anytime you see her, you better buy her a chicken wing or a cup of coffee, iced coffee. Do something, because I don't want her to quit. All right. And basically, like I already told you in episode 1, Carrie Ann Buck had called for David Sajak's resignation about 10 minutes after David Sajak had actually resigned. David Sajak says that it's not even really a resignation because his term is up July 20th, which would lead me to believe that all of the executive members of the board's term is up. Silberkraus believes that as the vice chair, he is the acting chair as of right now. But others are arguing, like I said, that if Sajak's term is up, so is Silberkraus's term is up. Again, I'm new to all this, but let me read to you. I haven't had a chance to go through it and cut out the important parts. So I'm going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read it as fast as I can. You ready? Dear Clark County Central Committee members, many members have asked about the status of the July Clark County Republican Central Committee meeting and the election, as well as the reason why Jesse Law was not allowed to run for the chair of the Clark County Republican Party. This will address both of these things. The CCRC July meeting is currently in recess. This means the meeting has not been adjourned but paused for the time being. That is baloney. All right? You know why they're doing that, right? We should have another meeting to continue it. But they're going to say that the people who were at this meeting can't now go to the next meeting and count that as 2 meetings. So they're going to pretend we're in recess and pretend this is one long, month-long meeting instead of having a second meeting where we could address the Jesse Law things. Everybody who wanted to get in was there in July, and then they will be there at the beginning of August. But instead, they're going to call it a recess. I'm calling BS on that. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to take sides, but I'm calling it like I see it. When we convene from the recess, it will be considered a continuation of the same meeting, and we will take up business exactly where we left off, which is absolutely nowhere. Are we going to address the 3 motions that are still on the table? I mean, we're never going to get anywhere with this. The disruptions and repeated attempts to obstruct the normal flow of the meeting would have extended the meeting well beyond the time allotted and the agreement we had with CCSD. All right? Guys, there was a couple of boos and sneers like when they misinterpreted or correctly interpreted Mr. McLean's prayer, or when we were listening to McCain stump for Carrie Balco and we heard Sam Brown stump for Byron Brooks. There was not big disruptions. Nobody charged the stage. I mean, it was a pretty orderly meeting except for a couple of hoots and hollers. Our goal is always to ensure that we can hold elections in a safe and secure setting. Everything was safe and secure, okay? It was a little more exciting than I'm sure that you'd like it, but nobody was in danger of getting hurt or anything except for maybe Alita Benson getting manhandled by the people with the CCRCC. It's no secret that the meeting on Tuesday was unproductive and failed to accomplish the required elections for the CCRC. In addition, the school that was kind enough to rent us space for our meeting received damage to the property both inside and outside the theater. This is unacceptable behavior. Again, I'm not aware of anything that was damaged whatsoever. I 100% could be wrong, but I was all over the place. I was all over everything. You got all that coverage on the Johnny Bruce Show. If there was any damage, I would have documented it. I promise you. All right? The absolute worst thing that I saw all night was Paul opening the door and it slamming against the wall, which caused no damage, and 4 old ladies sneaking into the door when they didn't have a bracelet on. That is the craziest I've seen of the whole thing. You should know the backstory and key things that led to the glaring discourse. Great, I'm new. Let's hear about the reasons and the backstory. First, the suspension of Jesse Law by our ethics and discipline committees ignited his supporters. Well, of course, they were all excited to go and vote for him. Nevertheless, those committees had the grounds to suspend Jesse Law's membership in the county party for the following reasons. Breaking news. We have the reasons why right here. Let's hear about the horrible things Jesse Law did. Number 1, soliciting, facilitating, and funding a lawsuit falsely claiming that the CCRCC illegally discriminated against members of the Conservative Filipino Association of Southern Nevada, despite the fact that the president of said organization said on the penalty of perjury that there was no discrimination towards his members. The lawsuit also makes false claims of illegal discrimination against women. All right, this is referring to the 15 or so people that I told you were suing to get their membership back. Number 1, the judge did not say that the CCRCC was in total compliance and they were totally right. That's number 1. Number 2, the women they're referring to is Cindy Olson, Rudy Clyde's wife, Natalie Thomas, Brittany Sheehan, a couple of others. I'm sorry, I'm getting so excited. But, these people were trying to be kept away for anti-Semitic things from a 5th party on a 3rd party telegraph that could be affiliated with Keep Nevada Open because Matt Anthony and Cindy Olson were the administrators. And I've had people from that camp, I don't know who it was that told me this exactly. It might have been Matt, it might have been, who knows. I'm not attributing this quote to anyone, but people are saying it very well could have been somebody from the CCRP creating a ghost account in order to plant these anti-Semitic messages to later discover them and plant some evidence. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying that's not true. But seeing some of the behavior I've seen over this entire thing, I wouldn't be surprised if some actors were acting nefariously. All right, so him trying to support these people who want to be part of the CCRP and helping them with their lawsuit is making them say he's not allowed to be in the CCRP. Number 2, deceptively working to hold a fake meeting in the name of the CCRP against a court directive at Palace Station on May 24th. I'm not 100% familiar with what that is, but if I do recall correctly, they were going to have that meeting. It was canceled due to threats or whatever, and Jesse Law said, all right, well then let's just have our own meeting so we could talk about what we want to do in Clark County. I don't know. I guess that makes sense. You know, they said no meeting, so he said, okay, let's have another meeting. I guess he's not allowed to do that. Publishing lies in mass emails claiming that the CCRCC was found guilty of discrimination by Judge Gonzalez in the frivolous discrimination lawsuit, despite the fact that the court did not make any finding or final judgment on the matter. CCRCC counsel sent Jesse Law a cease and desist letter about this defamation in June 22nd, 21, which he ignored. All right? You know, Carrie Ann and the CCRP have been sending out tweets, Facebook things, and emails that Jesse Law's team or Matt Anthony's team have also been claiming as defamatory, but they have no recourse because they're not on the board of the CCRCC. This also sounds like it's like we're doing the same thing to each other, but I'm going to hold that against you because I'm in charge. Number 4, repeatedly lying to members and non-members about the integrity of the CCRCC's officers by insinuating they are unethical in carrying out duties of the CCRCC. Again, this has been going up back and forth. It seems like a repeat of the previous thing. Number 5, the final reason for Jesse Law, which I still don't really have a concrete good one, threatening and so far succeeding in dividing the CCRCC with the goal of reinforcing the state chair's political position by attempting to pack the CCRCC membership with their own supporters who have either been innocently manipulated or actively conspired to achieve Jesse Law's stated goals. Number 1, the state party and the county party should be working together. Number 2, if you're talking about attempting to pack the CCRCC membership, how is that a bad thing? Again, I told you in episode 1 of this part 1 of this special, it is a popularity contest. The board of the CCRCC is supposed to get as many volunteers together as possible. And if David Sajak's team has 300 people and Jesse Law's team has 500 people and they all go to the meeting, then Jesse Law's going to win the chair. Not because he packed the CCRCC, but because all of these Republicans are joining the CCRCC and the majority of them want Jesse Law. How do you pack the CCRCC? That doesn't even make sense. That's the goal. Me on the Johnny Brew Show, I'm not running for office, but part of my goals of turning Nevada red is to pack the CCRCC with my supporters. That's the whole idea. I want to pack the ballot box with Republicans. I want to pack the election official office with observers and precinct captains and phone callers and door knockers. That's the whole idea, to pack the CCRCC. Given the ramifications of these disturbing activities, both our ethics and our discipline committees had no choice but to suspend Jesse Law's membership in the CCRCC. Conveniently, less than 24 hours before his candidacy is realized in an election. That's when you're going to decide to do this? And I'm suggesting there's been some unethical behavior there. Am I going to be invited to the next meeting, or are you going to consider this me furthering the divide? In accordance with our processes, Mr. Law will remain suspended until the trustees make a recommendation as to his membership status and bring it to a vote to the full membership. Mr. Law will be given ample time to prepare a defense and to present his case to the trustees. I don't want ample time for Jesse Law. Jesse Law, get your ass in gear. You have the accusations in front of you. All right, I don't think you need ample time because I expect you to be at the meeting because it says right here that your membership status will be voted upon by full membership, which again should include the 400 people that were turned away because that should count as a meeting and the next meeting should count as a second meeting. And then we could take it to a vote. Does Jesse Law deserve to be in the CCRCC or do you, the body, not you, David Sajak, not you, Carrie Ann Buck, not you, David Crete. Yes, you, in the fact that you would get one vote out of the 700 votes. And let's go take it to a majority if Jesse Law should be a member. If Jesse Law should be a member, then he should be a candidate. And if he's a candidate, then we should have an election. Our second point concerns the CCRCC's recent decision concerning the meeting safety protocols. Only members are allowed to enter the meeting room and participate in the meeting. No non-member guests are allowed. I don't know Robert's rules. I don't know the rules that well. But I thought was supposed to be an open meeting. Any Republican, registered Republican who lives in Clark County, or I think anybody, I think that's what you need to be a member. But it's an open meeting that anybody can observe and, listen to. And, now they're saying it's a closed meeting and only people are there. No non-member guests are allowed. So if I bring my wife, you're going to make her stay outside because I brought my wife with me to a central committee meeting? I know people who bring their kids. My new friend, Vernon, he brought his son who just turned 18 who was looking forward to voting. So he brought his son when he was 14, 15, 16, and 17 years old to learn how the process works. Does that count as a non-member guest? Does my wife count? I saw Steven Silberkraus walking around the stage of this truly important meeting, and you guys are claiming that it's dangerous and everybody's in danger and it's been a crazy January 6th insurrection. Well, then why is your little 6-month-old baby on the stage if it's so dangerous? And if we're not allowed to have non-member, I don't understand. Me personally, I liked seeing your kid there. And I also liked seeing the 1,000 people trying to partake in it as well. Number 2, careful tracking of those who appeared at the meeting who did not meet the 2-meeting attendance requirement or who attempted to use the online registration process as instructed by Jesse Law and were misled as to the legitimacy and accuracy of that process. People are trying to join. Why is that such a bad thing? These protocols were implemented only to ensure the safety of our membership and preserve the integrity of voting after the May meeting was canceled, at first for security reasons and later by court order. Guys, you were talking about a bunch of senior citizens. You saw the people I'm interviewing. There's no danger. You scared of Matt Anthony? With his stupid crooked hat? And his love for this country? And now he's getting mad that you're shutting him out? Matt Anthony ain't gonna do nothing. All right? The craziest of the bunch is Paul Laramie. What's he going to do? Let us in and open a door? I mean, Paul Laramie, again, he's the craziest of the bunch. He's not going to do anything extremist or terroristic. I don't think. Paul, I know you don't like me anymore, but I still like you. Take it easy, kid. Let's not get into trouble, but I love your passion. All right. I'm sorry. In the lead up to the May meeting, individuals who are known to be associates of the Proud Boys extremist group. Who says the Proud Boys are an extremist group? The Las Vegas Proud Boys have done nothing extreme that I know of, because the Southern Poverty Law Center calls them extremist group. They call the same groups that Byron Brooks is a part of, the Anti-Defamation League, they call them an extremist group. So are we going to say Byron Brooks is adjacent or affiliated with an extremist group because the Southern Poverty Law Center said so? Come on. All right? Everybody asked me to put down the Proud Boys 3-4 months ago. I refused to do so because I judge people on my own observation and my own experience. And I'm glad I didn't, and I still don't. And don't think there's any undercover crazy Proud Boys trying to sneak in either. They wear their shirts proud. They're not trying to hide. They are who they are. Anyway, had reportedly threatened officials and planned to physically block entry into our meeting venue to deliberately cause chaos and disrupt the meeting. They attempted to do the same on Tuesday and succeeded. Number one, they were trying to get people to go to the meeting so they could vote for the Rudy Clyde, Matt Anthony thing. They weren't trying to block anybody out of that meeting. I know that for sure. Number two, they were talking about threatening officials. They're talking about, Nadia Kroll and Katie Williams, a judge and a school trustee, being threatened by these people. All right? That story came, Matt Anthony and Rudy Clyde disappeared, and then that story disappeared. All right? If there was really threats to a judge or a school board member, we should know more about it and something should be done about it. But the truth of the matter is, nobody was truly threatened. All right? Now, if somebody spoke out of turn or exaggerate or like, we're going to fight, and you take that as a threat, or, we're coming to get you, on election day, or, like nobody said we're going to come to your house and kill you. People are saying like, we're going to fight against you, or we're going to come get you next time we have to vote or whatever. That's not really a threat. And I could be getting some of this wrong. I'm just telling you from what I've observed. And they attempted to do the same on Tuesday and succeeded. Nobody was denied access by the people who were denied access. You're saying the people who you denied access to were denying access to other people? That's simply not true. There were many good people who showed up genuinely wanting to become members of the CCRCC who were left understandably frustrated by the process. Yes, I interviewed most of them. Many people who were deliberately misled as to the rules about who can attend the meeting were left outside in the courtyard and were vocal about their displeasure, as seen on the Johnny Brew Show. It is likely they were taken advantage of by a small group of people who solely intended to disrupt the meeting. If self-nominating for chair and then drumming up support is called disrupting the meeting, then I guess, Jesse Law, you are guilty. So sorry. As a result, about 200 people caused significant disruptions and delays in the voting process at the meeting. I do not know what they are referring to. Maybe you're talking about Susan Prophet cackling at Richard McLean's prayer, or you're talking about, what are you talking about? 200 people caused significant disruptions and delays in the voting process at the meeting, with a few of them pressuring the crowd almost to the point of rioting. Guys, the closest anybody came to rioting is chanting, "Let us in, let us in," or the 6 little old ladies who snuck in through the door. Those are the 2 closest instances of rioting that I saw. They attempted to storm their way into the meeting by overwhelming 3 school police officers, 6 paid security guards, a volunteer sergeant of arms, and it required at least 11 metro officers just to restore order. Again, I have the tape. I've seen the tape from every angle. All right? Overwhelming 3 police officers and 6 paid security guards. 6 little old ladies and 1 old man overwhelmed 9 law enforcement officials and yours 10 and their sergeant of arms. And then 11 metro officers to boot to restore order. I have the film. I just showed it to you, what was going on outside when the police showed up. Order did not need to be restored. I mean, it was Mac Miller telling people to leave. Some of the members who forced their way into the meeting were not members. They're referring to the 6 old ladies and the 1 old man. Leaving the CCRCC volunteers unable to tell who was eligible to vote. Some members also joined in the disruption by sharing wristbands that were issued to identify members heckling and stalling the voting process. Guys, this is hyperbole. All right? Now I'm starting to sound like I hate the CCRP, like I hate the carry buck slate. I don't. I'm just telling you what I observed personally. Please Richard McLean, I like you. Don't take this personally. Carrie Ann Buck, Byron Brooks, I like you. Don't take this personally. But this is baloney. This is not right. This is dividing us so much. Please. Once again, the CCRCC remains committed to holding an election in a safe and secure setting for all members. In light of events that transpired on Tuesday, the CCRCC will take immediate steps to reevaluate our safety and organizational procedures to ensure that the continued July meeting will be conducted in a safe and transparent manner to ensure a smooth voting process. Thank you for your patience and support of the Clark County Republican Party. Ed Gonzalez, Acting Secretary of the CCRP. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to take sides, but the CCRP is wrong. They are way over-exaggerating what's going on. The same way they over-exaggerated that stupid anti-Semitic Telegraph baloney, just like they're over-exaggerating Jesse Law talking about them being unethical. You're creating a problem where there is none. We can't stand for this. I'm telling you right now, if you get your way and you get Carrie Ann Buck elected, the CCRP will have 250 members at the most. You guys will have your small little club. I don't understand what the point is. I thought the point was to build up a team of 1,000, 1,500 people. Do you think these people who I interviewed earlier are going to continue to support the CCRP after what happened this week, after that email that you wrote that everybody who was there knows is either not true or terribly, terribly, terribly exaggerated? Guys, we need to come together. I only see one solution, and some of you are not going to like it. Carrie Ann, I give you my word. I like you. I support you. I will vote for you for senator no matter what, thanks to your track record and what you did this past legislative session. You've helped my family when we needed help. You have always communicated, maybe not on camera like I was hoping, but anytime I asked you a question, you always got back to me real quick. You've always been kind. Carrie, withdraw your candidacy. Say that you're going to continue to be our senator. You're going to continue to fight for your Pinecrest Foundation. You're going to continue to work with the Republican senators of Nevada or that group, and that you're willing to do whatever you can for the CCRP, regardless of who wins the election, David Crete or Jesse Law or Eddie Hamilton. If you did that, don't wait, don't lose the election and then withdraw your candidacy the same way you demanded Sajak's resignation after he already resigned. Carrie, this isn't your bag. Your bag is education. All right? You're a great senator. All right? Maybe the best senator we had during this legislative session. Carrie, reach out to Jesse Law and Dave Crete. Stick up for Jesse Law with this ethics complaint. You obviously have more pull than I do. I know you're not in charge, but these people, Ed Gonzalez, Steve Silberkraus, Richard McLean, they'll listen to you. Tell them it's more important for us to have 800 people in the CCRP without you leading us than it is to have 250 with you leading us. And if you set the example, all your wonderful supporters, Tawana Crabb, who I got a soft spot for, Lois Choate, who I don't know, but I read her posts, I know she loves this country, Richard McLean, who loves this country, who wants to turn Nevada red, Byron Brooks, who I know loves this country. You can lead us to unity, Carrie. All you have to do is say, we need the most people to be involved. And in order to do that, I'm going to withdraw my candidacy and I'm going to support whoever wins the election between the remaining people. You've got enough on your plate. You got to fundraise for 3 other organizations. You're not good at this mudslinging stuff, which makes me like you more. Obviously, you haven't been doing this your whole life. You haven't been talking smack and hyperbolizing because, again, you're not good at it. All right? And that's a good thing because you're a stand-up person. All right? You and your husband seem like wonderful people. We need you. We need you in our government. If you take this step to lead Southern Nevada Republicans, that's your ticket to lieutenant governor. That's your ticket to state senator representing us on Capitol Hill. That's your ticket, Carrie. Lead us. Lead us before anything else happens. Demand that everybody gets let in that went to the July meeting and goes to the next meeting. Demand that Jesse Law is allowed to be a candidate. I'm not a Jesse Law guy, but he's not getting a fair shake. It's not right. You can't do that to somebody 12 hours before an election, nor the people who have been listening to speeches for 4 months or 4 days, whatever the case may be. Carrie Ann, I'm sorry. I know you weren't in charge of the CCRCC meeting. I know you weren't in charge of canceling the May meeting. I don't know how much you had to do with that stuff, but I know that was Sajak, Silberkraus, McLean, Gonzalez. It wasn't you. And you keep hiding behind that shield. Now is the time. Step up and lead us through this. If you do this, it's all over right here and right now. And I'll tell everyone, all of Jesse Law supporters, Crete supporters, Eddie Hamilton, I'll tell everybody, if you do this, we need to stand behind you and we need to unite. All right? We need Natalie Roach and Susan Prophet and Lois Choate and TK Crabb and all of us to work arm in arm to turn Nevada red. Small government, less regulation here in America. America first. Internationally, and a love for our founding documents. Please, Carrie, you hold it. You have the keys to the castle. You and you alone. Byron Brooks can't do it. Richard McLean can't do it. Jesse Law can't do it. Jesse Law can't withdraw. He'll look like he's a coward. All right? Byron Brooks has been intelligently pretty silent about all this stuff. David Sajak's gone. Richard McLean is a data analyst. He's a math geek. Carrie Ann, you're the only one who can do this. I like you a lot. And I will be your bestie if you can do this for the Clark County Republican Party. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate your support. Please leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know when you agree with me, and even more important, let me know when you disagree with me. All right? I have a singular goal to turn Nevada and my country red. We need to be Republican. We're losing our country. We're sitting here fighting over if a motion to hear a motion can be heard when the Democrats are changing our school system. When the Democrats are trying to get kids in school from 2 years old to 24 years old with free daycare, free college, and free school all in the middle. To have a welfare state and open borders. Guys, we're getting run over. And guess who can change it? I give you my word, Carrie Ann. If you take my advice and you withdraw your campaign, your candidacy, we turn Nevada red in 2022. And if you don't do it, we don't turn Nevada red. Carrie, you are the single most important conservative in Nevada right now. Please. Thank you so much. David Orloff Photography. robslist.org. And everybody who talked to me, from Brittany Sheehan, Mike McDonald, Natalie Roach, TK Crabb, All right. Rob Tyree for helping us out. All right. Who else? Alita Benson, you were awesome. Sam Brown, thank you for coming down. I'm sorry you got mixed up in this disaster. All right. Everybody who talked to me. Dave Crete, Eddie Hamilton, Jesse Law, Mac Miller, Matt Anthony. All right? I love you guys. Thanks so much for the support. Please subscribe, leave a comment, podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, hit up Facebook, The Johnny Brew Show, or Common Sense Nevada. My name is John Brookhagen. Thank you so much for watching.